Absolutely. SMU head coach Rhett Lashlee joins us now, friend of the show, been on a bunch of times. And, Coach, we'll talk about the upcoming season and you guys and Preston Stone and all the great things you've got going on. But I would be remiss not to ask, in all of this conference realignment shifting, SMU's name has come up a lot when it comes to the Pac-12. With Colorado leaving, what does that put you and the program on? As people like me are going to ask you about it. Where do you feel like you guys fit into conference realignment as you try to take that next step with your program?
Well, luckily for me, you can ask that question, and I can honestly tell you I got no idea. I'm just worried about fall camp starting on Tuesday. But that's honestly that's the truth. What I do know is to your question or your point in your question about SMU has been the topic for the last year about a lot of conference realignment in multiple conferences. And, we're in a great conference right now in the American that, it's proven. Just look at Tulane last year. You win it, you're in the Cotton Bowl, and they go beat USC. And after a year from now, this thing's going to expand to 12 teams. And if you win our league, you're in just about every year. And so I just think we're in a really good place. I think it shows the fact that, we have a rich history at SMU. I know in the last, 4 or 5 years, we played really good football, which is kind of resurrected us a little bit because there was a good stretch there where we weren't very good. And so I think it just shows you the national brand SMU has across the country. And I think it just shows you the fact that, we're the only school in Dallas. We're in the city of Dallas in the great state of Texas. And so if we're attractive to a bunch of people, that's good for us. But we need to go out and win. And that's really, that's my job. So that's what we're focused on.
Yeah, Coach, just one thing on that and not really delving further into that, but would it be fair to say, just based on the SMU fans that I see, seeing the facility updates, seeing the success that they now had under multiple head coaches and you getting off to a good first year, would it just be fair to say in general that if somebody were to say, hey, SMU, what are you up to, that the Mustangs are ready to kick the tires and be ready to do whatever?
I think so. I think we have a strong commitment from our school president, to our board, to our athletics director, to all of our alumni. We want to compete at the highest level, and whatever that is. And we feel like that's our past, and we feel like that's where we can be and should be. And, it's been a long road back to this point where we can say that we feel like there's a lot of momentum around our program, and we have the opportunity to put ourselves in position to do those things. And so, look, I'm fortunate to be here at a time where, like you said, the coaches in the last 3 or 4 coaches before me have done a lot to put our program where it is now. And so me and my staff, we're fortunate to be in this position. But look, there probably hasn't been this much excitement and momentum since Eric Dickerson and the Pony Express was here, and that's exciting for us.
Coach, you said fall camp starts on Tuesday. This is where you get the butterflies and excitement about getting it going. And your team, you've loaded up on transfers, I know, but you've got some guys returning that, while they might not have been starters, like your quarterback Preston Stone, have seen some real time for you in key situations. How much easier is that to transition into a year when, for example, at quarterback with Preston, he's started games and won games for you, as opposed to having to play in situations where a game is out of hand one way or the other and you're not playing the full boat of the playbook?
That's a great question, and I agree with you. I think there's a big difference between spot starting and being the starter, and that's just the truth. Until you've been that guy through the spring and the summer and the off season and fall camp and leading up to the first game, and then the ups and downs of a season, it's still there's an experience level or a learning curve that's just got to happen. Okay. And that hasn't happened for Preston yet, but he has. He's played. He started a game we've won. He has done enough which is a whole lot better than him never taking a snap or a meaningful snap, to your point. And so, look, I think our team has a lot of confidence in Preston. I think Preston has confidence in Preston. I know I do. And, our opening 4-game stretch is pretty tough. So that learning curve is going to be steep, but I feel like he's just going to get better and better and better, and just really excited to watch him play.
What was the learning curve for you after the first year as a head coach? Obviously, been a lot of big schools, big situations, big games, in a big-time position. But to have the reins of the SMU program and to be the head coach, what kind of came out of that first year for you that you sort of, I guess, recognized or learned from, and that learning curve, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, like everyone, you always want to get better from game 1 to game 2. I'm really hoping to get better from year 1 to year 2, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's just to let coach lead the team, manage the game, the staff. I mean, we did a lot of, as a coach, you often look back and go, well, we didn't do this, this, and this. And so, yeah, there was some really close losses in year 1, and even our bowl game, going for 2 on the last play against BYU. Like, there's some moments that you wish either you had back or would have maybe executed, or it would have come your way instead of the other way. But by and large, what I'm really excited about, besides the fact that I just survived year 1, right?
Yeah.
And most of the staff decided to stick around with me, is like, I felt like 2 things that were really important we accomplished is, 1, we have a really good team culture. And that word gets thrown around a lot, but we really do. And if you don't, that's not good. And so, I mean, our guys like being around each other. They believe and trust our coach. It doesn't mean we're perfect and don't have problems, but like, for a big, college football program, we have a good culture. Our guys like being here. They like playing together. I think that was proven in our season last year, and by the fact that everybody wanted to stick around here in this kind of new era of college football. And the second thing that I was really, excited about is we learned how to finish. We went 5-2 down the stretch, 3-1 in our league. I think it was the first time since 2009 we'd won 3 games in November. Like, it's just, as a program, that had been kind of a bugaboo for the last 4 or 5 years here, and we kind of broke through and we learned how to finish. Now we got to put ourselves in position earlier in the conference slate to where when we finish, we're finishing, hopefully in contention for the championship. But there were some good things. A lot of things could have done better, and hopefully round 2 we'll get those things right.
I asked this to Dave Aranda after his first year, or actually maybe it was after his second year, but did you learn more or as much of what you're never going to do again as a head coach in your first year than you do of maybe what kind of head coach you're going to be, just because like, I tried this, it didn't work, I'm not going back to that?
A little bit. You touch a lot of hot stoves and you learn not to touch them again. Yeah, I think so. I mean, you either learn or confirm a lot about yourself. Mm-hmm. And, in your first year, you're doing a lot of things you think you're supposed to do, right? And so sometimes you may follow your instinct, or sometimes you may do something because you just think that's what you're supposed to do. And you learn what works and what doesn't. But most importantly, you learn just what works for you, because being a head coach is a lot like being a parent. There's a bunch of different ways to do it, and you got to do it your way, and you got to do it what's natural. You got to be who you are. And fortunately, SMU allows me to be who I am. Our staff is awesome and allows me to be who I am. And so that's what you do. You learn kind of more than anything, just like to trust yourself. But yeah, you do. You learn like anything else when it's the first time you do something. You learn what to do by maybe what not to do.
Coach, we got to talk to Gus Miles on at Big 12 Media Days a couple of weeks ago, and obviously you guys go way back. I was just curious because we have UCF fans that tune in. What kind of, could you say about just Gus Miles on, and what you think about the fact that UCF's now making this jump up? They're a team that a lot of people think can make a pretty quick transition because of him and because of just the tools at their disposal. But what are your thoughts on Gus Miles on UCF and then now entering the Big 12?
Well, I think, with the exception of his golf game, the UCF fans should be really happy. I mean, I don't remember the last time he was able to beat me on the golf course, so hopefully he's listening. But, no, look, I clearly have a ton of respect for Gus. I mean, he was my coach when I was in high school. He helped me a ton get my opportunities in this profession. I'm still a little upset. We were ahead of them at halftime last year, and then they came out and put a pop knot on their head in the second half. So I think Gus is going to do fantastic at UCF. I think UCF, there's a lot of parallels to SMU, mm-hmm. and is that they're in a really talent-rich state. Their location is great in a good city, and they have all the ingredients you need to compete at the highest level in college football. And then you give them a guy like Gus Miles on with the experience, both recruiting and coaching over the years. I mean, what he did at Auburn, I think as every year goes by, people are going to continue to see more and more how incredible it was, from when we went and played for the national championship in year 1 to the consistency to beating Alabama more than anyone else did really in that span. Like just just the consistency to recruit and win at a high level at a place like that. I think if I'm a UCF fan, I'm pretty excited.
What is it like coaching against your mentor?
It's not any fun. I mean, I got to coach against Sonny and Gus back-to-back weeks last year. And, you know, you don't like coaching against friends or mentors or whatever you want to call them in this business. And now you do it long enough, you just about every week there's a friend on the other side, you know, but it wasn't fun, but don't get me wrong. I wanted to beat him and he wanted to beat me. So he got round one.
So you mentioned the schedule earlier. You guys open up at home against Louisiana Tech on September the 2nd. Then you got a road trip to Oklahoma, Prairie View A&M road trip, which is not a lengthy road trip, but still batter the iron skillet with TCU there in that first month. So road trips to Norman and Fort Worth ought to be pretty big games. Just what are your thoughts on not only the start that you guys get off to and how important that will be, but also it's obviously a bit of a new look conference as well with some familiar friends and some foes. Just what are your thoughts on what's ahead of you guys as far as the schedule goes?
Yeah, you know, last year I think we had the hardest schedule we'd had in over a decade here, you know, with at Maryland and TCU, and our league is, you know, we had a really tough road in the league, and shoot, we turn around this year and I think our non-conference schedule is tougher. You know, the league's different, and, you know, yeah, at Norman and at TCU is a great challenge, and we're excited about it, but shoot, we got Sonny Cumbie and La Tech week one, and that's a hard opener, you know, and so hopefully we can play well the first week and get off to a good start, and then, you know, go on the road and see where we are and see, you know, for a young quarterback going on the road and all the things that go with that. We'll know where we stand kind of going into our conference slate. And, you know, I think that our league is still going to be really good. I mean, yes, UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati were good programs in this league, and they deserve the credit they've gotten, but like, the champ, Tulane's still here. You know, we finished fourth last year in the league. Memphis has been good for a long time. East Carolina, Navy, those are good programs. But then you look who's coming in. I mean, UTSA and what they've done the last 2 years and what Jeff's done there. And then you got FAU and UAB, who for the last decade really had dominated Conference USA for the last 2 years. I think what Rice and North Texas can do from their locations now that they're in the American will help them. So, I mean, it's still top to bottom a really, really tough league. And so we got to work contention to try to win it. But it'll be interesting to see how that early part of the schedule, we jump right into it.
Coach, just looking up and down your roster and the transfers you brought in, you've got a lot of every kind, but a lot of veteran transfers, guys who are seniors, juniors, grad transfers. Does that make it for an easier transition as you're trying to build chemistry because you've got guys who know what they want to accomplish in college football and know why they are where they are now at SMU?
Oh, I think so. I mean, I think people all the time think you go get a transfer just to get a better player or something. School transfer in between. You're always trying to improve your roster and get the best players you can. But, you know, I don't know. It's year two. I don't know if every year we'll take that many transfers. Mm-hmm. You know, most of our kids come from the state of Texas, even if they are a transfer. They played high school in Texas somewhere. But for us, yes, it's specifically on the defensive side of the ball. You know, we got done with the season last year, and I mean, I had our guys look it up, and we haven't had a top 40 defense in SMU in 4 decades.
Wow.
I mean, Eric Dickerson was playing here, and everybody talked about the Pony Express. SMU had some real defenses in the 80s. Okay? I mean, a lot of NFL players and top 10 defenses. We haven't had one finish better than 40 since then. I think 2010 or 11, they finished like 40th. And I mean, 155, and everything else has been higher. And so it's like, yeah, we've been good on offense for a while at SMU, and that's great. But, like, we want to compete and have an opportunity to win championships. We got to be good on both sides. And so we went out and, you know, we got 4 defensive linemen and 2 linebackers and 6 DBs with 100 career starts in college football, just in the secondary alone. But what comes with that? Yeah, Jonathan McGill from Stanford, who played at Coppell, he's a heck of a player. He was a starter at Stanford and a team captain, though. And so the kind of leadership and maturity that brings in, and that's one example, but those guys, it does make us a little bit more of an experienced team than if you're trying to play a lot of freshmen and sophomores. And so I like the feel of our guys for that reason. And And that's really the biggest reason, especially, on both sides of the ball, but on that side, we needed that maturity, that leadership on top of the ability.
Yeah, well, of course, the only problem with guys from Stanford, coaches, they're always going to correct your grammar.
I know. Well, hey, you know what? If he plays good defense, he can correct me all the way.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Coach, we always appreciate you hopping on the show when you get a chance. We love talking ball with you. Good luck as practice begins here in the next couple days. Enjoy whatever downtime you have left, which is not much.
Guys, thanks. I always love being on with you. Yeah, I got a few hours with 4 kiddos, so there's no downtime.
Yeah, no, it's just one craziness to the other, through. Well, Coach, thanks a lot. Have a great start to practice. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Rhett Lashlee, head coach at SMU. I am